deep within the embrace of a sprawling, ominous forest where shadows danced like specters and the darkness seemed to devour even the bravest of lights, there lay an ancient cabin. This cabin, its timbers twisted and worn by the weight of uncountable years, whispered stories of a bygone era through every creak and groan of its structure. The windows, obscured by the dust of decades and neglect, offered a macabre reflection of the moon's glow, casting unsettling shadows across the clearing. Among the local populace, tales of the cabin were shared in whispers as cold as the wind that sighed through the trees, spoken of only in tones laden with fear. It was said to be a place of hauntings, a nexus of curses, harboring the restless spirits of those unfortunate souls who once sought its shelter, only to vanish into the ether, leaving behind nothing but silence and a chilling warning to the curious.
Welcome to my home.
On a chilly evening in autumn, when the leaves painted the ground in fiery hues and the air held a whisper of impending winter, a group of friends, fueled by a mix of skepticism, curiosity, and the intoxicating allure of the unknown, set out to confront the dark whispers that surrounded the cabin. Comprising both staunch skeptics and ardent believers, each member brought with them a personal quest for truth, a desire to peel back the layers of stories and see with their own eyes what lay at the heart of the forest's shadow. Their laughter and animated discussions pierced the quiet of the woods, a vivid splash of life against the backdrop of an oppressive silence that seemed to cling to the very air around the forsaken cabin. With each step drawing them closer, an unnerving chill crept through their bones, a sensation not entirely attributable to the crispness of the autumn air. It was as though the very atmosphere around them had grown thick with anticipation, the usual nocturnal chorus of the forest falling into an eerie hush. The cabin, once an object of distant curiosity, now stood imposingly before them, its form far less welcoming than the tales had painted. The door, hanging askew on its ancient hinges, appeared not just open, but as though it were an invitation, a silent call to step from the known into the maw of the shadowed unknown. The group's venture into the shadowy embrace of the forest was propelled not just by a dare that bound them, but also by motivations deeply personal and haunting. At the forefront of this expedition was Alex, a figure of skepticism and rational thought among his circle of friends. His reputation for logical reasoning and a demeanor unmarred by fear had recently been challenged by an event that shook the very foundation of his disbelief in the paranormal. A year prior, his life was upturned when his younger sister Sarah vanished into thin air, last seen on the edges of this very forest. Despite exhaustive efforts and search parties combing the area, she had disappeared as if swallowed by the earth itself. This cabin, ensnared in whispers of the inexplicable and the heart of countless tales of mystery, morphed into an obsession for Alex. In the depths of his grief and desperation, he harbored a sliver of hope that braving this cursed place might shed light on the dark mystery of his sister's disappearance. Perhaps, he thought, it could quell the torment of unanswered questions that haunted his every waking moment, offering a semblance of peace or closure. The fellowship that ventured into the heart of the darkness was not just a band of friends, but a mosaic of courage, belief, and curiosity. Emma, with her unwavering belief in the paranormal, stood as a beacon of faith amidst skepticism, her eyes alight with the thrill of uncovering what lay beyond the veil of the known. Tyler, the embodiment of adventure, thrived on the edge of danger and the rush of the unexplored, his spirit undeterred by the ominous whispers that cloaked the cabin. Mia found herself caught between fascination and fear, drawn irresistibly to the enigma of the cabin, yet haunted by the shadows that danced at its threshold. Together, they encircled Alex, a bastion of support and shared resolve, their diverse motivations weaving into a singular purpose. Their journey was fueled not only by a deep-seated loyalty to their friend and a collective yearning to confront the cabin's mysteries, but also by a personal quest to test their own limits and perhaps understand the true nature of the inexplicable. gathered at the threshold of the cabin, its ominous presence looming like a silent sentinel. The group was enveloped by the gravity of the moment. For each, the cabin stood as a symbol of their innermost fears and aspirations. To some, it was a gauntlet thrown down by fate, a challenge to their courage and a test of their mettle. For others, it promised the allure of the supernatural, a beacon in the dark for those chasing the ethereal whispers of the otherworldly. And then there were those who saw it as a riddle wrapped in mystery, a complex enigma that beckoned to their intellect and curiosity. But for Alex, this dilapidated structure was more than a mere object of fear or curiosity. It was a beacon of hope and despair, intertwined. It represented the last vestige of a connection to his lost sister, Sarah. Within its shadowed confines might lie the key to the mystery of her disappearance, the answers to the haunting questions that had plagued him through sleepless nights and endless days. This was his pilgrimage, a journey driven by the desperate hope that beyond the creaking door and within the cabin's suffocating embrace, he might find the clues that would lead him to peace or plunge him deeper into his torment. Gathering the last vestiges of his resolve, Alex led the way, his hand reaching out to push the already ajar door wider. The sound that followed, a ghastly creak from the hinges, cut through the silence with the sharpness of a wail in the depths of night, sending a shiver down the spine of the bravest among them. In that moment, the air between the friends was charged with a tangible tension, their shared resolve flickering like a candle in the wind. The bravado that had buoyed their spirits on the journey here was now tempered by a thick, all-consuming dread that seemed to emanate from the dark maw of the cabin's entrance. Yet, bound by a tapestry of motives and the unspoken loyalty that tied them together, they stepped forward. One by one, they crossed the ancient threshold, leaving behind the natural world and entering into the domain of shadows that sprawled beyond. With each step into the cabin, they ventured deeper into an abyss, a realm where the darkness felt alive, breathing and watching from unseen corners. As they ventured into the heart of the cabin, the door behind them swung shut with a mournful groan, sealing them inside this forgotten relic of the past. The darkness enveloped them like a shroud, thick with dust that seemed to muffle sound and swallow the light. They found themselves in what appeared to be a living area, a ghost of a room that had known life decades ago, now surrendered to the ravages of time. Only thin slivers of moonlight, brave enough to breach the filth-streaked windows, provided a meager illumination, casting long, twisting shadows that played tricks on the eyes. The air was thick, suffused with the scent of desolation, a meld of decay and the damp earthiness of a grave long left untended. Every inhalation was a battle against the instinct to recoil, to flee the oppressive atmosphere that clung to their clothes and skin. The silence in the cabin was palpable, a void punctuated only by the sound of their own breathing and the distant mocking call of the wind outside, a reminder of the world they had momentarily left behind. Within this forsaken space, the remnants of what once might have been a sanctuary of warmth and laughter stood as solemn witnesses to the ravages of abandonment. Furniture that had likely once gathered around the warmth of a hearth, offering comfort and respite, now lay in ruin, a testament to the inexorable march of time. A sofa, its once plush fabric now a feast for the mites and the mold, bore the imprint of countless forgotten moments, a silent sentinel under the ghostly gaze of the moon. Above it, a mantle held the vestiges of memories, photographs whose smiles had faded into obscurity, their joy obscured by the relentless advance of cobwebs and dust, encapsulating lives that once thrived within these walls. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of watchfulness, a heavy, almost palpable sense of awareness, as if the cabin itself resented their presence, its very essence imbued with a malevolence that seemed to seep from the walls. Shadows, cast by the meager light that infiltrated the gloom, moved with an unnerving semblance of life, dancing just out of clear sight, as though the darkness itself was alive with watchers, silent observers of the living trespassers. This feeling of oppression, of being scrutinized by unseen eyes, weighed heavily upon them, a psychological miasma that threatened to choke the courage from their hearts. The oppressive silence that enveloped the group as they stood within the confines of the cabin was unlike anything they had anticipated. Despite their varied reasons for embarking on this journey and their differing beliefs about what they might encounter, the tangible stillness they now faced was uncharted territory for them all. This silence was not merely the absence of sound. It was an entity in its own right, a dense, almost physical presence that seemed to compress the very air around them, making each breath a struggle against an unseen force. The sensation was unsettling in its intensity, as if the cabin itself, with its decaying walls and shadow-filled corners, had been lying in wait, holding its breath in anticipation of their arrival, or indeed, the arrival of any soul brave or foolish enough to cross its threshold. This feeling of being expected, of entering into a space that had been primed for their presence, added a new layer of dread to the already chilling atmosphere. It was as though they had become actors on a stage set by the cabin, with roles assigned and a script yet to unfold, watched by an audience concealed within the oppressive silence that now claimed them. Amid the detritus of neglect and the passage of time, the floor of the cabin revealed yet another layer of its mysterious past. Pages torn from what appeared to be an ancient journal, their edges yellowed with age, their surfaces marred by the passage of countless years. The script that adorned them was faded and difficult to decipher, suggesting the desperate scrawls of a mind teetering on the brink of madness. Emma, always drawn to the echoes of the otherworldly and the whispers of the unseen, felt an irresistible pull towards these remnants of a soul's descent. With a reverence born of her fascination, she knelt and carefully lifted a page, her fingers barely grazing the fragile paper. The writing upon it danced with the erratic energy of someone consumed by fear, loneliness, or perhaps plagued by presences unfathomable to the rational mind. Words tumbled across the page in a chaotic symphony of dread and desperation, painting a portrait of a psyche overwhelmed by the unrelenting embrace of the cabin, or more chillingly, by what dwelled within its shadows. The narrative that began to emerge was one not just of isolation, but hinted at encounters with forces that defied explanation, suggesting a story that had unfolded in this very room, under the oppressive weight of a presence that now seemed to loom over them, palpable in the charged air and the oppressive silence. In the dim, haunting glow that barely illuminated the interior of the cabin, Alex's attention was inexorably drawn to the staircase that wound its way into the shadowy embrace of the second floor. The darkness that pooled at the top seemed alive, almost breathing, filled with a foreboding that was almost tangible. Despite the myriad warnings every instinct screamed at him, there was an undeniable pull, a siren call from the unseen that tugged at the very core of his being. It was as though the shadows themselves whispered his name, beckoning him into their depths with the promise of secrets unveiled or horrors untold. Meanwhile, Mia's initial enthusiasm, her curiosity intermingled with a taste for the unknown, had gradually ebbed away, leaving a residue of fear that clung to her like a second skin. The arm of Tyler she gripped served as a lifeline, a tangible connection to reality in the face of the oppressive aura that enveloped them. The adventure that had once sparkled with the allure of the mysterious had dimmed, its luster overshadowed by the acute realization of their vulnerability in this desolate place. The cold that gnawed at their edges was more than the mere absence of warmth. It was a penetrating, soul-deep cold that threatened to consume their very essence, a reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the domains of the lost. In their quest for answers, for the adrenaline rush of confronting the unknown, and for tangible proof of the world that lies beyond the veil of the seen, they had ventured into the heart of darkness. Yet, what they encountered within the gloomy confines of the cabin was far beyond a mere brush with the paranormal. Here, in the oppressive silence and the suffocating darkness, they found themselves face to face with the primal essence of fear itself. It was a fear that was palpable, almost a physical entity that wrapped around them, tighter with each passing moment. The silence within the cabin lay heavy upon them, a dense, suffocating blanket that seemed to smother every sound except for the ragged edges of their breaths. These shallow, hurried intakes of air became the soundtrack to their fear, a stark contrast to the occasional distant noises from the forest outside. Those sounds, which should have been a comfort, a reminder of the world beyond these cursed walls, instead served as a haunting reminder of their isolation, of how far they had strayed into the realm of the unknown. Standing on the precipice of the unknown, they were forced to confront not only the specters and shadows that might lurk in the unseen corners of the cabin, but also the shadows within themselves, the doubts, the unspoken fears, and the realization that some thresholds once crossed marked the point of no return. As Emma's fingers, quivering with a mixture of anticipation and dread, held the ancient journal page aloft, the dim moonlight filtering through the window lent just enough illumination to reveal the scrawled words. The group leaned in, their collective breaths held in suspense, as the cryptic message began to take shape under Emma's tentative guidance. The words, once obscured by time and the writer's frantic hand, now spoke a terrifying truth into the silence of the cabin. Or June 5th, it watches from the shadows, unseen but always felt. Its whispers are like the wind, cold and unyielding. I cannot leave, for it has bound me here to this place, to its will. I fear I am not alone. There are others trapped in the walls, in the air, in the very essence of this cabin. They scream for release, but there is none to be found. Beware the night, for that is when it grows strong. Beware the darkness that creeps into your heart, for it will consume you as it has consumed me. The chilling revelation hung between them like a specter, its implications more horrifying than any of them could have imagined. The cabin, with its oppressive silence and shadows that seemed to swallow light, was not just the setting of their haunted adventure, but a prison for lost souls, ensnared by an entity as malevolent as it was mysterious. The warning, etched in desperation by someone who had once stood where they now stood, was a testament to the cabin's sinister legacy, a legacy that now threatened to claim them as its next victims. The gravity of the message, of the unseen presence that lurked in the very air they breathed, sent a shiver down their spines. The darkness that had seemed merely an absence of light now felt alive, a creeping, insidious force that sought to envelop them in its cold embrace. The fear that they had sought, the thrill of the unknown, had found them, but it was a reality far more terrifying than any of them had dared to imagine. The heavy silence that enveloped the group in the wake of the journal's ominous warning was a palpable shift from the mix of skepticism and thrill that had fueled their journey into the heart of darkness. The eerie words, scrawled by a hand driven by fear or madness, transformed the cabin from a site of intrigue to a nexus of dread. The air, thick with the echo of warnings from the past, seemed to close in around them, suffocating the last remnants of their initial excitement. The possibility that they were standing in the same space where others had faced unspeakable horrors brought a chilling reality to their adventure. The journal entry, whether a product of a disturbed mind or a harbinger of truth, cast a shadow over their intentions, turning their quest into a walk on the razor's edge between the known and the unfathomable. Alex, feeling the burden of his decision to lead his friends into this foreboding place, attempted to pierce the veil of fear with a voice steadier than he felt. His words, "We need to stick together," were not just a strategy but a lifeline, an attempt to bind them against the creeping dread that threatened to unravel their resolve. His suggestion to venture upstairs, driven by the hope of uncovering clues about his sister, Sarah, or the nature of the malevolent force hinted at in the journal, was a testament to his desperation and determination. Despite the growing fear that gnawed at his resolve, Alex's leadership in that moment was a beacon for his friends, rallying them against the darkness with a shared purpose. Their journey into the cabin's heart had taken a sinister turn, but together they stepped forward, into the unknown, driven by the faint glimmer of hope that answers lay just beyond the veil of shadows that awaited them above. United by a newfound resolve, albeit one born from the absence of any real choice, the group ascends the staircase. Their movements, cautious yet determined, keep them close, a a manifestation of their collective fear of isolation amidst the growing malevolence. The staircase beneath them complains with every step, the creaks and groans amplifying through the still air, announcing their progression like somber drumbeats to an unseen audience lurking within the cabin's dark embrace. Reaching the summit of their climb, they are greeted not by solace but by a corridor that seems to stretch beyond the bounds of the cabin's humble exterior. The hallway, narrow and oppressive, hosts a series of doors, each slightly open as if inviting or daring the group to uncover the secrets that lie in wait. Here, the atmosphere shifts markedly. The air is not just cooler but carries a weight, pressing against their skin and lungs with an almost tangible force. It's as though, in crossing the threshold from the first floor to the second, they've stepped through a veil into a realm where the very essence of the cabin is distilled into a more potent, chilling form. The difference in the air, the way it seems to cling and crawl, suggests that whatever force that haunts the cabin, whatever truth that lies at the heart of the journal's warnings, is stronger here. The shadows that fill the rooms beyond the ajar doors seem deeper, almost liquid in their opacity, hinting at the presence of something unseen, something that dwells just beyond the reach of the weak moonlight that fights to penetrate this domain of despair. In that moment of eerie silence and hesitation, the group stands united not just by the physical space they share, but by an intricate web of fear, loyalty, and an unquenchable thirst for answers that has driven them to this threshold of the unknown. The realization of the gravity of their situation descends upon them like a cold shroud, acknowledgement that they have ventured too far to retreat, their journey marked not by the footsteps they've left behind, but by the secrets they yearn to uncover. Compelled not by reason but by an unspoken agreement, their attention is irresistibly drawn to the second door on the left. It's an attraction they can neither explain nor deny, a magnetic pull that seems to intertwine with the very fabric of their fears and curiosities. This door, among all others, beckons to them with an allure that is both inexplicable and undeniable, promising or threatening to unveil the mysteries that lay beyond its weathered frame. With a resolve fortified by the camaraderie of his friends, Alex steps forward, his hand extending towards the door with a cautious bravery. The creak of the hinges as the door swings further open feels like a crossing of an unseen boundary, a silent herald of the revelations or horrors that await them. The others, bound by a shared destiny and a collective inhalation of trepidation, stand shoulder to shoulder with Alex, ready to confront whatever lies in the shadowed room beyond. In this moment, their fates are intertwined, each step forward a testament to their unyielding search for truth amidst the darkness that seeks to envelop them. The door's reluctant groan gives way to a revelation that halts the group in their collective tracks. Before them lies a room that defies the pervasive decay and abandonment that has claimed the rest of the cabin. It's as if they've stepped through a portal into another era, where time itself has been meticulously kept at bay. The dust that adorns every surface speaks of years past, yet beneath this veil of neglect, the room's contents whisper tales of a life once lived here in solitude or secrecy. The bed, its quilt faded yet still clinging to the echoes of its colors, stands as a silent testament to the room's former inhabitant. The dresser, scattered with personal trinkets and obscured by the passage of time, suggests a normalcy and a daily routine abruptly ceased. Yet, it is the painting that draws their gaze, a beacon of tranquility in an environment otherwise steeped in mystery and unease. The serene landscape depicted within its frame offers a stark juxtaposition to the cabin's gloomy narrative, a window to a world untouched by the shadow that looms over the rest of the dwelling. As they step further into the room, the scent of old wood mingled with the faint, almost nostalgic aroma of floral perfume fills their nostrils, a poignant reminder of the room's previous occupant. This olfactory signature, delicate and yet so distinct, casts the space in an even more enigmatic light. The room stands as a sanctuary, a meticulously preserved capsule of someone's existence, isolated from the creeping decay that has consumed much of the cabin. It's a stark reminder of the life that once pulsed within these walls, now reduced to mere echoes in the dust. As the palpable air of mystery deepens, their apprehension slowly morphs into a keen curiosity, compelling them to sift through the vestiges of a life paused in time. Their movements through the room are measured, a silent agreement to honor the sanctity of this undisturbed space. Emma, with a hand guided by an intrinsic pull towards the remnants of personal history, finds herself at the dresser. Among the assortment of trinkets, each telling a silent story of its own, she discovers a diary. Its leather cover, worn and mellowed by the passage of time, encases pages that have turned a delicate shade of yellow, a tangible testament to the years they've witnessed. Tyler, meanwhile, is drawn to the painting that seems to contradict the cabin's otherwise somber narrative. His inspection reveals an artist's signature, a whisper from the past barely holding on beneath the accumulation of dust. This small detail, a link to the world beyond the cabin's confines, holds the promise of unraveling part of the mystery that shrouds the place. Mia, enveloped by a sudden chill that seems out of place in the still air of the room, drifts towards the window. The sight that greets her is one of eerie beauty. The forest outside, bathed in the silver glow of the moon, moves as if stirred by an unfelt breeze. The trees, their branches swaying gently, appear almost to communicate, alive with a presence that feels at once both alien and familiar. This view from the window, contrasting sharply with the preserved stillness within the room, serves as a stark reminder of the cabin's isolation, standing as a solitary sentinel amidst a world that moves independent of the time capsule they found themselves in. As the diary falls open, the past begins to unfold before them in the most intimate manner, through the handwritten confessions of a soul long departed. The initial entries radiate with the warmth of joy and contentment, painting a picture of a life embraced by love and the simple pleasures that once filled this room. However, as the pages turn, a narrative of darkness begins to emerge. The words, once flowing with happiness, now tremble with a palpable dread. The author speaks of an entity, an ancient force lurking in the depths of the forest, its malevolence creeping like a shadow across their threshold, an insidious presence that whispered of terror and despair. This revelation, documented in the fading ink of the diary, sends a shiver through the group, a chilling affirmation of their deepest fears. The sense of an unseen observer, the oppressive silence, the feeling of being drawn to this place, it all converges into a stark reality. They are indeed not alone. The cabin, with all its secrets and shadows, harbors something far beyond the natural realm. The warnings, once whispered in hushed tones among the locals, now resonate with a terrifying clarity. The diary's transition from tales of happiness to desperate fear mirrors their own journey into the heart of darkness, a path that now seems irrevocably intertwined with the fate of Alex's sister. The realization that the presence spoken of in the diary might be the very essence that has ensnared Sarah casts a new light on their quest. It's no longer a search for the thrill of the unknown or a test of their bravery. It's a fight for survival, a desperate bid to unravel the mysteries of the cabin and confront the ancient malevolence that lurks within its walls. The stakes are clear and the path ahead fraught with danger, but the resolve to face whatever lies ahead solidifies among them, driven by the hope of finding Sarah and escaping the cabin's cursed embrace. The atmosphere in the room shifts palpably as the weight of the diary's words settles over the group. Their adventure, initiated under the guise of curiosity and thrill-seeking, has morphed into a dire pilgrimage into the depths of the unknown. The sensation of being under an unseen gaze intensifies, wrapping its invisible tendrils around their minds, a reminder of the silent witness that has perhaps been with them since they crossed the cabin's threshold. This presence, ancient and enigmatic, now feels closer than ever, its intentions as dark and unfathomable as the shadows that dance just beyond the reach of the light. Alex, spurred by the diary's grim narrative and the potential threat it represents, feels a dual surge of protectiveness and urgency. The protective cloak he dons over his friends is not just born of a leader's responsibility, but of a brother's desperate need to untangle the fate of his sister from the sinister web in which they find themselves caught. His determination to delve deeper into the cabin's mysteries is a beacon for the others, a rallying call to arms against the encroaching darkness. His proposal to explore the rest of the upstairs is met with nods of agreement, a silent pact formed in the face of their shared ordeal. The possibility of discovering further clues, of piecing together the puzzle that is the cabins, and by extension the forest's malevolent spirit, offers a sliver of hope amidst the despair. With each step they take, the group embarks on a journey not just through the physical confines of the cabin, but into the heart of their own fears, driven by the necessity of understanding, of survival, and of possibly confronting an ancient evil to uncover the truth behind Sarah's disappearance. United in purpose and fortified by a shared resolve, Emma, Tyler, and Mia rally behind Alex, their collective apprehension momentarily eclipsed by the urgency of their quest. The diary, now a symbol of their only tangible link to the cabin's mysteries, remains securely in Emma's grasp as they navigate the upper floor, its pages a macabre guidebook to the unseen horrors that might await them. The doors they open serve as portals to the past, each room a tableau of life abruptly paused, as if the inhabitants had simply vanished into the ether. The discovery of a child's bedroom is particularly poignant, the scattered toys and an aura of halted innocence painting a picture of a life interrupted. The absence of its occupant is almost tangible, the remnants of play and laughter now just echoes in the oppressive silence that has since claimed the space. Further exploration leads them to a study, a chamber of knowledge and speculation where the line between history and mythology blurs. The books that line the walls, heavy with the dust of neglect, speak volumes of the local lore, their pages adorned with hurried notes that hint at a deep-seated fascination, or perhaps obsession, with the supernatural forces said to govern the forest. These scribbled annotations, ranging from academic musings to borderline hysteria, suggest a fervent pursuit of understanding, a desperate attempt to unravel the threads of truth woven into the fabric of local legends. The cumulative effect of these discoveries, from the frozen snapshot of domestic life to the scholarly pursuit contained within the study, deepens the mystery of the cabin and its connection to the malevolent presence the diary speaks of. Each room, with its own story of sudden abandonment, adds layers to the narrative forming around the cabin, painting a picture of a place not just haunted by spirits, but consumed by a history rich with folklore and terror. The group moves through these spaces not as mere intruders, but as seekers of truth, each step forward a piece of the puzzle that might lead them to understand the forces that have drawn them into this nightmarish reality. The absence of any direct evidence linking the cabin's eerie legacy to Sarah's disappearance does little to dampen the group's determination. Instead, it sharpens their focus on the common thread woven throughout the diary entries, the scattered personal belongings, and the annotated tomes of folklore, a sinister presence that pervades the woods, an ancient curse or entity with the power to ensnare those who venture too close. This malevolent force, detailed in the margins of history and whispered in the lore of the land, casts a shadow long enough to envelop Sarah's fate within its chilling embrace. Their journey through the cabin, while deepening the mystery, has also armed them with an invaluable weapon: knowledge. Among the dusty volumes and hastily penned notes, they find references to rituals and rites, folk remedies meant to ward off or even dispel the darkness that clings to the forest and the cabin. It's within these pages that they uncover a specific ritual, cited as a means to either appease the presence or banish it altogether. The decision to embark on this ritual is not made lightly. It is the culmination of fear, desperation, and the faintest flicker of hope, a hope that they might alter the course of the story they've become a part of. The ritual, sketched out in the ancient texts with a mix of reverence and dread, offers a tangible, if uncertain, path to confront the entity that lurks in the shadows. With the night deepening around them and the weight of their mission pressing down, the group prepares for the ritual. Their actions are driven not by a steadfast belief in the supernatural, but by the dire circumstances that surround them. It's a leap into the unknown, a gamble against the darkness with the highest stakes. their lives and the possibility of uncovering the truth behind Sarah's disappearance. As they gather the necessary materials and recite the words handed down through generations, they stand united, a circle of light in the oppressive gloom, ready to face whatever response their invocation might provoke. Under the cloak of an impenetrable night, the group meticulously arranges the components of their makeshift altar in the cabin's main living area, where the weight of years and secrets seems to press down upon them. The circle of salt, a symbol of purity and protection, encircles them, its grains glinting faintly in the candlelight, a light that pushes back against the encroaching darkness with fragile defiance. At the heart of their arrangement lies an object of profound significance, a personal belonging of one previously ensnared by the entity's grasp, as suggested by the diary's cryptic references and the folklore's grim warnings. This item, a talisman of their intent, serves as both an anchor and a beacon in their ritual. As they commence the ritual, their voices merge into a chant that echoes through the cabin, imbuing the air with a resonance that feels both otherworldly and deeply human. The words, drawn from the most arcane passages of the books they've scoured, weave a tapestry of invocation and plea, a demand for peace and a bid for release from the chains of fear and despair that bind them to this place. The very atmosphere responds, the air growing denser, colder, as if the fabric of reality itself is reacting to their call. The candles flicker wildly, casting long shadows that dance across the walls with a life of their own, blurring the line between the material and the ethereal. It's in this moment, amidst the chant and the chill and the shifting shadows, that the boundary between their world and that of the entity thins, their plea for release reaching out into the darkness. This act of defiance, of hope against the enveloping shadow, marks a turning point in their ordeal. With every word of the chant, they reaffirm their presence, their refusal to succumb to the despair that has claimed so many before them. The ritual, a beacon in the night, stands as their testament to the power of unity and belief in the face of the unknowable, a light that, however dim, pierces the darkness with the promise of dawn. The ritual, a beacon of their collective will against the encroaching darkness, seems to awaken the cabin to a heightened state of alertness. The drop in temperature is so sudden, so acute, it's as if the very heat of their bodies is being siphoned away by an unseen force, leaving a chill that seeps into their bones. The darkness deepens, a palpable presence that wraps itself around the flickering light of their candles, which battle against the growing gloom with their fragile, trembling flames. As they continue, the chant becomes a lifeline, the only sound in a world that has narrowed to the circle of salt and the dim light of their candles. The shadows cast by the candles grow longer, more pronounced, twisting and contorting on the walls in a macabre dance. These shadows, fueled by the ritual's energy, seem almost to take form, suggesting the presence of unseen observers drawn to the spectacle of light and determination in the heart of darkness. The protective circle of salt, meticulously laid out, begins to emit a faint luminescence, serving as a stark reminder of the thin line that separates them from the entity they seek to confront. It's a barrier of belief as much as it is of physical protection, a symbol of their refusal to yield to the darkness that surrounds them. This circle, their sanctuary in the midst of chaos, stands as a testament to their courage and their desperation, a beacon of hope that the ritual will bridge the gap between worlds, offering a chance for peace or banishment. In this moment, suspended between the known and the unknown, the group finds themselves on the cusp of something profound. The ritual, a gamble against the shadows, carries with it the weight of their fears and their hopes, a desperate plea cast into the depths of the night, waiting for an answer. In this moment of absolute silence, where even the ambient noises of the world beyond seem swallowed by an all-consuming void, the group stands transfixed, enveloped in a cold that goes beyond mere physical sensation. Their breaths hang in the air like spectral whispers, a visible testament to the drastic change that has befallen the cabin. This silence is not peaceful. It's oppressive, charged with an expectancy that tightens around them like a noose. The presence that fills the room is undeniable, a consciousness that envelops them in its gaze, unseen yet as tangible as the flickering candlelight that struggles against the encroaching darkness. This entity, ancient and otherworldly, regards them with an intensity that is felt in the core of their beings. It communicates not through language, but through a cascade of raw emotions, each wave a torrent designed to overwhelm and consume. Despair, anger, and a hunger that feels as if it could swallow the world whole crash over them, an onslaught intended to break their spirit, to drown them in the very darkness they seek to banish. Yet, within this maelstrom of dark emotions, there lies a thread of something unexpected. Amidst the anger and hunger, there's a pulse of pain and loneliness so profound, it borders on tangible. It's a revelation that cuts to the heart of the entity's existence, suggesting a complexity beyond mere malevolence. This flicker of vulnerability, buried beneath layers of rage and sorrow, hints at a being twisted not only by the passage of time, but by the very essence of its existence. The group, standing together within the circle of salt, faces not just the darkness they feared, but a being that defies their understanding, a being that, despite its overwhelming power, carries within it a shard of something painfully human. This realization, amidst the fear and the cold, offers a glimmer of understanding, a potential key to not only surviving the encounter, but perhaps finding a resolution that encompasses not just their safety, but the entity's torment as well. In this silent standoff, the group grasps the complexity of their task, realizing that the path to appeasing or banishing the entity might lie in acknowledging its pain, in finding a way to heal the wounds that time and darkness have inflicted upon it. The room becomes a vortex of activity, a physical manifestation of the entity's response to their ritual. As objects levitate and swirl in a dance dictated by unseen forces, the line between the natural and the supernatural blurs, the howling wind outside merging with the kinetic energy unleashed within the cabin. This turmoil, a display of power meant to intimidate and assert dominance, serves as a stark reminder of the entity's capabilities, its control over the environment and extension of its will. In the eye of this storm, Alex's resolve hardens, crystallizing into a moment of desperate courage. The chaos around him, rather than cowing him into silence, catalyzes a declaration born of love and sacrifice. His plea to the entity, a negotiation for his sister's freedom in exchange for his own, is a testament to the depths of his resolve. It's a gambit that lays bare his vulnerabilities, offering up his own safety in the hope of securing Sarah's release. His words, clear and resonant, cut through the cacophony, a human voice reaching out to whatever consciousness governs the turmoil. This offer, a sacrifice laid at the feet of an ancient and inscrutable being, hangs in the air, charged with the potential to alter the course of their encounter. Alex's willingness to exchange places with Sarah, to bear the weight of whatever fate the entity might impose, is a moment of profound humanity amid the supernatural chaos, a beacon of love and selflessness that challenges the darkness with the strength of human emotion. As the objects continue their eerie ballet and the wind cries its ghostly lament, the group stands united, their fate and their hope intertwined with Alex's plea. The silence that follows, filled with anticipation and the echo of his words, is a crucible in which the entity's decision will be forged, a turning point that holds the promise of salvation or the specter of deeper despair. Alex's words, a plea woven from the depths of desperation and love, echo in the newly returned silence, a stark contrast to the tumult that had reigned moments before. The sudden cessation of movement, the calming of the wind, and the stabilization of the candles mark a turning point in the night's events. This shift, this feeling of release that washes over the room, is as palpable as the cold had been, a tangible sign that the entity, whatever its nature or desires, has responded to Alex's offer. The gradual return to normalcy, the fading of that oppressive gaze, leaves the group in a state of suspended disbelief. The immediate danger has passed, the atmosphere within the cabin no longer charged with malevolence. Yet, the resolution brings with it a cascade of questions. The entity's silence following Alex's bold gambit offers no clear answers, no explicit acceptance or rejection of his sacrifice. Was this a sign of appeasement, an acknowledgement of the sincerity and depth of his plea? Or did the entity choose to recede into the shadows, its motivations as enigmatic as its existence, leaving them in a temporary reprieve? In the wake of this encounter, the group is left to ponder the nature of their interaction with the supernatural. The absence of malice, the lifting of the entity's oppressive presence, suggests a form of communication has occurred, a negotiation facilitated not by rituals or chants, but by the rawest human emotions. Love, sacrifice, and the willingness to face one's deepest fears. As they stand together, the relief mingled with uncertainty, the true outcome of the night remains shrouded in mystery. The entity's retreat, whether permanent or momentary, leaves an open-ended conclusion to their ordeal. Yet, in this moment of quiet after the storm, there's a sense of cautious optimism. Perhaps, in confronting the darkness with the light of human resilience and compassion, they forged a path to a future where the shadow of the entity no longer looms over them or over Sarah. The night's events, a testament to their courage and the complexities of the supernatural world, will remain etched in their memories, a reminder of the night they stood on the threshold of the unknown and dared to reach across the divide. The cabin, once a place of fear and mystery, now holds a new meaning, a site of confrontation where the power of the human spirit was tested and for now has prevailed. The emergence of a soft whisper, slicing through the thick silence, draws their collective gaze towards the door, a threshold that had marked the boundary between their candlelit sanctuary and the unseen horrors beyond. The creak of the door as it swings wider seems to herald a continuation of the night's mysteries. Yet, what steps into the halo of their flickering candles is not another manifestation of the unknown, but a figure steeped in longing and desperation, Sarah. Her appearance at the doorway, bathed in the soft, uncertain light, strikes a chord of disbelief and relief in their hearts. The sight of her, bewildered but seemingly untouched by the darkness that had swallowed her, ignites a myriad of emotions. The joy and shock of seeing Sarah, alive and present, wash over the group, a bittersweet reminder of the ordeal they've endured and the unanswered questions that linger like shadows in the corners of the room. Sarah's return is a miracle unexplained, a gift from the depths of the unknown that they grasp with tentative hands. The circumstances of her reappearance remain shrouded in mystery, leaving them to wonder at the nature of the entity and the price of the peace they seem to have brokered. The joy of their reunion is tinged with the awareness that the entity's intentions, its reasons for releasing Sarah back into the realm of the living, are as inscrutable as the night is dark. As they gather around her, offering comfort and seeking answers she may not have, the cabin stands silent around them, a silent witness to the events of the night. The secrets it harbors, the stories etched into its walls, remain, for now, untold, leaving the group to ponder the depths of the supernatural forces they've engaged. The entity, with its complex web of emotions and motivations, has receded, leaving behind more questions than answers. In this moment of reunion, they are reminded of the power of hope and the strength found in unity. The ordeal they faced in the cabin has tested them in ways they could never have anticipated, drawing them into a confrontation with forces beyond their understanding. Yet, in the end, it is their resolve, their willingness to face the darkness together, that has led them to this moment of unexpected grace. As they prepare to leave the cabin, the night's events a tapestry of fear, courage, and mystery woven together. They step forward into the uncertainty of the dawn, forever changed by the knowledge of the unseen world that brushes against our own. Sarah's return marks not an end, but a beginning, a new chapter in their lives touched by the knowledge of the depth of the darkness and the resilience of the human spirit. Sarah's mysterious return, while a beacon of hope in the darkness of their ordeal, opens the door to a myriad of questions and uncertainties. The true nature of her disappearance, the days or moments she spent in the grip of the entity, and the reasons behind her release are enigmas that wrap around the group's relief like a cold mist. As they gather their bearings and prepare to leave the cabin, the reality of what occurred and what may yet occur casts long shadows over their joy. The cabin, with its labyrinth of secrets and spectral whispers, remains a place of power and mystery. The entity, its motives now more inscrutable than ever, has shown that the boundary between the known and the unknown is thin and easily crossed. Navigating the aftermath of this haunting, the group is left to ponder the implications of their encounter and the ways in which it will shape their understanding of the world around them. In the days to come, their quest for answers will lead them down paths both dark and illuminating as they seek to unravel the tapestry of folklore, personal history, and supernatural phenomena that envelops the cabin. The investigation into Sarah's disappearance and the nature of the entity will challenge their perceptions of reality, pushing them to confront the depths of human fear and the possibility of realms beyond their understanding. This chapter may draw to a close with the group's departure from the cabin, but the story of the haunted cabin in the woods is far from concluded. The mysteries they've uncovered, the forces they've engaged, suggest a narrative that stretches beyond the confines of the cabin's walls, into the heart of the unknown. As they step back into the world, changed by their experiences, they carry with them the light of hope, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, there is always a path forward. This glimmer of hope, fragile as it may be, is a testament to the power of the human spirit to seek answers, to strive for understanding, and to find peace amidst the shadows. The road ahead is uncertain, fraught with new challenges and revelations, but it is a road they will navigate together, driven by the unyielding light of hope and the enduring quest for truth in the face of the supernatural. Now, dear viewers, the story doesn't end here. What do you think lies ahead for our intrepid group and the spirits entwined with the cabin's fate? Have you ever felt the chill of an unseen presence or heard a whisper carried on the wind that you couldn't quite explain? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of terror and wonder. Your next shiver of fear awaits.